Everybody, it's me, your buddy Dave, the host of the Dark Stuff channel here on YouTube. Thank you so much for checking out my latest video. Folks, this is a little mid-year check-in, and I'm going to give you the top 6 albums of 2025, in parentheses, so far. So I'm sitting here down in the bunker here on June 16th of 2025. We're pretty much at the middle point of the year. And, you know, in previous years, I've done sort of quarterly updates. Could these 4 be the number 1 of the year? Could these 4? And I decided to stop doing that because it was a little bit obnoxious. And but I didn't want to just wait till the end of the year to talk about ones that I think are standout albums. So I went ahead and picked out 6 albums released in calendar year 2025 so far. And these may wind up in my top 20 of the year. They might not. I know one of the 6 will not, and that's because it doesn't meet the criteria, because I'm including a live album, and live albums don't make my top 20. But I'm including it here, and you'll understand why once we get there. By the way, I'm doing these all in alphabetical order. This isn't a sort of ranking. This is just a statement. These are the 6 records, okay?
I was on the highway drifting sideways.
Start off with my first recommendation, and that is Deep Sea Diver. Okay, the album is called Billboard Heart, and there's the band leader Jessica Dobson on the back there. I do have the vinyl. I am a huge fan of Deep Sea Diver, and this is maybe my most anticipated record of the year prior to it coming out. Let me just show you. So here's my History Speaks CD. Here is my Secrets album from Deep Sea Diver. Got this, the vinyl from her last album, Impossible Weight, which featured Sharon Van Etten on a couple of cuts, by the way. So I have been a fan of hers for a really long time. I find Jessica Dobson to be incredibly interesting, very, very talented, somebody who I have had my eye on for a while. Now, I know she did some session work earlier in her career, and has also performed as a touring member of various bands, including Beck. And Beck does not have slouches in his band. I don't know if you've ever seen him in concert, but they are all top-notch people, so clearly she is top-notch. As I said, I was familiar with the band prior to this record coming out. Last, I don't know, I want to say December maybe, or maybe November of 2024, the band's label Sub Pop put out a song to radio, and I do a radio show, so I was privy to it. It was the title track, Billboard Heart, and I instantly fell in love with the song. I mean, it was amazing. Comes on, and it's like really quiet, little keyboardy thing, and it sounds like a little crackling, like you're listening to an old-timey radio. And then Jessica's voice comes in with this really sad lyric where she's like, "My baby's got a billboard heart. It says, please don't revive. I would paint all over it, but I'm afraid of heights. There's plenty of those old tapes playing around inside my head. I'm welcoming the future by letting go of it." Wow. I can't even tell you what that really means or what I even think that means. I just, like, okay, so I've talked about in the past that I'm working on a video of songs that are my verklempt songs, right? Where, and by using that term, it's a joke from back in an old SNL thing from the 90s. But
you're verklempt, I'm verklempt.
It's basically songs that no matter what they're about or who they're by, but once I start hearing them, I start welling up and I can't. It's almost uncontrollable. Like I just have no say in it, and I don't know, it's usually not the lyrics, it's usually something melodically going on, and it's usually like the chords or the whatever, I don't know, I'm not a musician, I don't know, but the beginning of that Billboard Heart almost made my verklempt list because it had that quality to it, and it made me start welling up a little bit. Now the song opens up and turns into something different, and it's really, really great. I will say that this album, the songwriting is top-notch. In a perfect world, this would be what mainstream music sounds like. I mean, it's not. You're getting Charlie XCX and stuff like that. And I don't even know Charlie XCX, so don't at me. I don't even know if she's good or not. But the point is, it's just this is what pop music, rock music should be, in my opinion. But I'm a 54-year-old guy, and my opinion isn't taken into consideration as much as it used to be. Throughout the album, great guitar work, lots of little keyboard flourishes that I don't remember being as prominent on previous records. Although most of my favorite songs, are towards the front of the record. I do really love one called Happiness Is Not a Given because I think lyrically and tonally it really is the overarching sort of concept or theme or whatever. Concept is a loose word here, but I think that was really, really indicative of what they're doing. Okay. And a lot of the other songs are also just as moving and deep and everything. There are some serious just rockers, like Emergency is a great rock track. It just like excellent guitar, whatever. So if you do want to hear that sort of more edgy or harder St. Vincent-ish type of sound, that would be your track that you would go for on that record. I would say my favorite songs on the album are definitely Billboard Heart, What Do I Know, Loose Change, Shovel, and Emergency. This is a must buy for anyone watching The Dark Stuff. Next up is the album Force Majeure by the Australian rock band Delivery. Now, I think I was turned on to this artist from the Vinyl Douche channel. But the last time I gave credit to the Vinyl Douche for turning me on to a record, he came back and said, I've never heard that record. I didn't tell you about it. Still, despite my track record of incorrectly crediting the Vinyl Douche with something, I do think he's the one who turned me on to Delivery. Now, before I get into the band and the sound and all of that sort of stuff, let me just say, guys in the band, Delivery is a terrible name for a band. Okay, it's awful. I love the band. I love the music. This album is fucking awesome. But the name is terrible. It is nondescript. It doesn't evoke anything. When I hear about Delivery, I'm just thinking of like a pizza or something. And not only that, it makes it incredibly hard to look you up and to Google you. Okay? Now, I know maybe you weren't thinking about that in the heady days of 2019 when you formed your band, but it is difficult to just look up Delivery Band. You can't. So it's probably too late to change your name, I guess, because you've already got albums out internationally. But before you get too big, you might want to just consider it. I'm just saying, it's just not a good name for such a good band. I had to actually look up Delivery Band Force Majeure before I could even find you. I know, first world problems, big deal. Anyways, this band is from Melbourne, Australia. This is their second full-length album. It's kind of like a jagged, jangly, kind of catchy garage rock sound that I really like. I was telling someone, I think the other day, that the sound is, they're like, well, give me a comparison. And I said, well, maybe if the Hives met early XTC. Okay? They don't have that edge on the guitar, as much distortion and stuff, so that's why the Hives maybe isn't the best, but they're just constant energy level. They're constantly being up, is where I got that. And then maybe the sort of the guitar tone is more early XTC, like when they were a band, like White Music era, or that kind of stuff, late 70s into the early 80s, when they actually had a drummer and they used to perform live before Andy Partridge got stage fright and they just became a studio band. A lot of information right there. So the band has two singers. So you got Rebecca Allen, who's a bass player and singer, and then you got James Lynch, who's also a singer, and he plays guitar. And I think he's the producer on these, or at least the recorder, a la Steve Albini or whatever. So they're self-recorded. Their stuff sounds great. It's not lo-fi in any way, shape, or form. The album has a really, really strong opener with the tune Digging the Hole, and I feel like that kind of sets the tone for the record. Like, if you put that track on and you're like, I don't like this, you're probably not going to like the rest of it. I'm just going to be honest with you. Not every band puts that song, like such a definitive tune, as their first track. I'd advise when you're a new band, you probably should, but that's neither here nor there. It is really great, and I think that grabbed me right away, which was a help, because, again, Delivery is such a boring name. And you know what? On the album cover, I'm sorry, I'm looking at it on the monitor behind me, like, the band Delivery is so small, and then Force Majeure is bigger, and it isn't even big. It's like all this empty space on the... I mean, I should be your art director, you guys. You need to make it bigger. The name has to be bigger. Maybe that's an American thing. Like, I need the name bigger. That's all I'm saying. So anyways, Delivery, Force Majeure, fantastic record. It's on the Heavenly label, which is a good label. And I don't know. I have a lot of positive thoughts for this. Australia has been blowing up so huge the last couple of years. I mean, Australian people are probably laughing at me for saying something like that. But there have been a tremendous amount of Australian bands that I've gotten into over the last 4 or 5 years. So anyways, that is going to wrap it up for Delivery. Force Majeure. My favorite tracks on the record are Like a Million Bucks, The New Alphabet, and Focusrite. Those are my favorites. Next up, alphabetically, is the band High. Now, this is High, H-I-G-H, period. You have to have the period, otherwise you're going to get to some different band. And like with Delivery, maybe consider a name change. I mean, I get High goes very well with their sound and everything, and it's funny and it's cool and all that. But there's already a band that has the name, probably multiple ones, and putting a period doesn't really make it any better. But that's all I'm going to say on the subject. The album is called Come Back Down. It is the band's second record. They're calling it an EP. And all of the stuff I've read about them, they did an interview with Stereo Gum or whatever, and they're all calling it an EP. I'm sorry. It's 8 songs, 31 minutes. That is a little short, but at the same time, one of my favorite albums of all time, Diver Down by Van Halen, 1982, Warner Brothers Records, 28 minutes. And that's considered a full-length album. So if that's considered a full-length album and it's Van Halen, I'm going to say this new High record is an album, and that's why I'm throwing it in here, because I wouldn't include an EP, you know? The band is from a very small town in New Jersey called Boonton. Okay, Boonton, Boonton, New Jersey. Never heard of it. They're led by the guitarist and vocalist, a guy named Christian Castan. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I am saying this band is an amazing shoegaze band. Okay, they do not like being called shoegaze, and that was a point in the article that I read on Stereo Gum, I think, or maybe it was Pitchfork or one of those blogs. But anyways, they do not like the term shoegaze. They don't like the connotation. However, when you sound exactly like that, I'm going to go ahead and call you that. They prefer a term called a noise gaze. I'm sorry, if you just make up a term that's similar to what everybody else is saying, I'm sorry. I mean, if it's noise gaze and you insist on it, I'll call you noise gaze. But I mean, honestly, it's shoegaze. And I'm an old enough person. I'm 54. I'm old enough to have seen shoegaze when it was new. Okay, I remember. And this gives me that same sort of vibe. Although it's not the crushing noise, like just the, that you get sometimes with that, where you just are overwhelmed by how much volume and how much guitar. And I mean, they have that kind of, it's sort of like My Bloody Valentine studio-ish, a little bit more tighter control on the guitars. They're not just meandering so much like My Bloody Valentine sometimes does. They're able to sort of keep it a little bit more contained, though they're not like they don't add elements of rock like say Swerve Driver does, where they're adding elements of like Sonic Youth and the Stooges and stuff into the shoegaze mix. These guys don't really do that, so they are noise gaze, I guess. Okay, so the New Jersey band High, period, with the album Come Back Down, is a great noise gaze band. I really would like to see these guys. I hope they come to Omaha. I think it would be fantastic. Looking forward to it. My favorite songs on the record are In a Hole, Catcher, and Lifetimes. Okay, number 4, although we're not ranking them, this is just alphabetically. And this is the one that is going to be ineligible for my top 20 of the year at the end of the year. I'm talking about the brand new Kiss live record, Kiss Off the Soundboard, Hemisphere Arena, San Antonio, Texas, December 3rd, 1985. It's the 6th in their series, the Off the Soundboard series, which is really, really great, and I love it. They're just going through various periods in their career, pulling out a live recording and putting it out. And they're not messing with the sound. They're not tweaking it. They're not overdubbing. They're not fixing the mistakes. They're just putting it out there. Very unlike Kiss, because Kiss likes to fix the mistakes and they like it to be a perfect presentation. And I know there are a lot of whiny Kiss fans out there who do complain that why do I hear mistakes? Why do they hear that? Why isn't his voice perfect on this? Well, this is what it's really like when you're at the concert. It's just that it's so loud and you're around 10,000 of your closest friends and you're probably high or drunk or whatever, and you don't notice. But when you can focus, yeah, you hear Gene's voice was a little off there. Bruce missed a note on the guitar or whatever. I mean, shit, that happens, okay? This is from the Asylum Tour, which was their 1985 album. The tour was 85 into 86. I saw them on that tour. I actually made a video about meeting the band on the Asylum Tour, so it was kind of significant to me. There'll be a link to that video, of course. Now, the last one in the series was from the Animalized tour, which was the tour that preceded it. That was a special thing because it featured their very, very brief time lead guitarist Mark St. John, who played on one album and he did 1.5 shows as a member of the band. That was one of those 1.5 shows. But he wasn't used to being there or playing. I mean, it was his first time up there, or second time up there, and it wasn't great. The band played way too fast, and which was what they were doing at that point. But I mean, that's why I don't like that one as much, and this one is preferred. Although I have that one because of the fact that it's got, Mark St. John on it, and it's interesting, for no other fact than he only played 1.5 shows, and this was one of the 1.5 shows. So this is great. This is for the diehard Kiss fan. If you are looking to get into Kiss, and you're probably not, but if you are, and you want to go for a live record, go for Kiss Alive, the original one from 1975. That's the gold standard. But this is still really, really awesome. And it's strange. They do close the set with the song Lick It Up, which is weird. They usually close with stuff like, Rock and Roll All Night or whatever. Sometimes even Detroit Rock City, if they would open with Love Gun. But closing with Lick It Up seemed kind of strange. That was a little weird. I don't know. They didn't do that when I saw them a few months later on the tour in, I think I saw it January or February of 86. This was December of 85. My favorite recordings on this particular record are Fits Like a Glove, War Machine, and Tears Are Falling. Next up is the most recent album from Bob Mould. It's called Here We Go Crazy. I already discussed this record a little bit in my review of the concert when I saw Bob a little while ago. Just give you some bullet points here. Okay, you have to know Bob Mould. If you've tuned in on this channel and you don't, I'm surprised. I don't know what was the appealing part of it, right? Just joking. I don't care. Bob Mould, of course, formed the legendary punk rock band Husker Du. He's been a solo artist since the late 80s. He briefly had a great band called Sugar in the early 90s. Here We Go Crazy is Bob's 15th solo album, and you kind of know what to expect if you're a Bob fan at this point. It's catchy, emotional rock music with amazing guitar. Bob is a phenomenal guitar player. He's a really, really great songwriter. The songs, lyrically, typically are sort of about like betrayal, heartbreak, anger in some ways. Sometimes he's political, not often, but occasionally he does write the political song. And in this case, there's that too. Although Bob is a married man, so I'm hoping the heartbreak thing is just like he's just thinking about a past time when he used to be heartbroken, because now he's happily married, correct? I mean, I'm hoping so. Because the best song on the album is a song called When Your Heart Is Broken. Hopefully he's just reflecting on that from back in the day, from a long-lost relationship or something, and you're happy now. I'm putting that out there in the world. I'm manifesting that for you, Bob. Although I don't want you to lose your edge, so I don't want you to become completely happy. And he didn't. And on this album, there are just great rockers after great rockers. I mean, you got Neanderthal, Breathing Room, Harm to Get, Firmink Augers. There are a couple of sort of ballady songs, like the closing track, Your Side, which is a good sort of love song. Weird to say that as in Bob Mould terms, but it is basically a love song. My favorite songs on the record are When Your Heart Is Broken, Here We Go Crazy, Firmink Augers, and Neanderthal. This is a great record in the Bob Mould catalog. Okay, so my last selection for the best 6 albums released of 2025 so far is the new record from Scowl called Are We All Angels? Now, this is a band that ordinarily on the surface I probably wouldn't like. It's 100% the most modern rock sounding band on my list. I mean, a lot of this stuff, it's Kiss, it's Bob Mould, it's older artists. But in this case, this is a very, very young band, very, very modern rock sound. So Scowl is from Santa Cruz. They're led by a singer named Kat Moss, who looks a little bit like the woman from Wet Leg, a little bit. Only this woman, Kat, has green hair, so there's a definite distinction. But she is really, really cool. But she does this thing. So I don't. Let me say this: the sound a little bit. It is melodic hard rock mixed with sometimes some extremely hard edges on the guitar, a little elements of shoegaze, and then some screamo. Okay, and this is why I thought I wouldn't like the record initially, because Kat will be singing along to a certain song, very melodic, whoa, and then all of a sudden it just turns to rah, and you just start screaming, and you're just like, where is this coming from? Like, and it's not just her; it's common in modern rock these days. And I know I sound really old when modern rock or whatever, but that's the way I feel. Okay, my radio show is on a modern rock station, and I know what kind of stuff they play, and it's sort of stuff like this. Okay, but most of that I don't really care for, whereas this I really do. I think the mixing of the hard rock the melodic vocals, the shoegazy sort of elements, and then even the screaming parts, which again, I could do without, but I mean, I like it none the same. I mean, it's not going to turn me off from listening to this record. It's song after song of just great riffage on the guitars, and just, I don't know. If this is where modern rock is going to go, I'm okay with it. Okay, not everybody's going to sound like the Replacements. I've learned my lesson 30 years ago. That's not going to happen, right? I do really like this band. I'm going to have an opportunity to see them at the end of July, which I'm pretty excited about. We'll see what that's like. In person, I'll probably be the old guy in the room, but you know what? I'm used to that at this point in time, right? The band, did I say they're from Santa Cruz? Yeah, now there's this debate going on as to whether this band is hardcore or ever was hardcore or whatever. And I'm just going to say that I'm not going to weigh in on that because I don't give a shit, okay? I never really cared much for hardcore at all, and I've been listening to punk rock since the early 80s. So bands that sometimes get considered hard rock or hardcore are very boring. I mean, Bob Mould, we talked about a little while ago. Husker Du started off as extremely hardcore. They turned into something brilliant after that. I can't even listen to their album, Land Speed Record, their hardcore album. It's unlistenable to me. And I love the band. So Scowl is not at the unlistenable point. They're very, very listenable. That's why I'm putting them on this countdown. I like it more and more and more every time I play it. There's not a song on the record that I skip. My favorites are probably Fantasy, Tonight I'm Afraid, Let You Down, and maybe Suffer the Fool, How High Are You? Depends. I like all of those. I think they're all really great. So again, Scowl, Are We All Angels is my most modern rock sounding pick of my top 6. So all right, folks, I'm going to let you go here. Those are my 6. Your job right now is to go out and find those records, give them a listen, and then report back. You could leave a comment earlier than that. You don't have to. You don't have to listen to the records and then come back. You can do it whenever you want to. Bottom line is, this is the end of the video. Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye-bye.